Welcome to Boone Plantation. I wanted to stop by and see a plantation, and I thought this would be a good place to start. This is one of the oldest buildings on the property, and this is where the cotton gin was. I know some people might be offended by coming to a plantation, but I'm the kind of person that believes history happened, good history and bad history, and it's important to know about this because the slavery happened here long before we were born, but yet in other parts of the world slavery still happens. And so I think it's important to understand the history of it. So I wanted to give you a tour today and tell you about this particular plantation. What happened here was they used to use this as a restaurant and a gift shop, and they went to remodel it and it became unstable, and since it's on the historic registry, they are obligated to keep it together, and these buttresses have been put in so that it will survive the hurricanes. Later in its history, a Russian prince bought the property and he raised polo ponies here, and three descendants from one of the horses here won the Triple Crowns. American Pharaoh was one of them, Secretariat, and I forget the third one, but the bloodline descended from here. And they still have some ponies on the property. Boone Hall is now a working farm. They raise fruits and vegetables on the property, and 40% of it is in U-pick sections where you can come and just pick your own fruits and vegetables. You'll see some pictures of some of the things. They also use the property for the public for weddings, and they supply local restaurants with fresh fruits and vegetables. After the time of slavery, it was run by sharecroppers, and the sharecroppers used this as their general store. These are the slave quarters. There's very few of these left standing in the United States, and many of these that were here have been destroyed by natural causes and age. But this is the slave quarters, and I'll take you inside.
Slaves were considered property, not people, and were treated as such. Slaves could not testify in court, make contracts, leave the plantation without permission, strike a white, even in self-defense, buy or sell goods, own firearms, gather without a white present, possess any anti-slavery literature, or visit the home of whites or free blacks. Public buses all over the nation. As a result, Martin Luther King Jr. became nationally known as a leader of the civil rights movement, publicly speaking and advocating nonviolent.
As you can see, each one of the houses has a story running, or a video running, that tells you about the history of slavery and about the end of slavery. These slave quarters are made out of brick. The brick was actually manufactured here on the plantation. They were reserved for slaves of privilege, those who worked in the mansion house and those who had authority over the operations of the plantation. And the plantation house is right there through the trees. If you were not privileged, then you lived in the fields in board wood cottages with no floors, no fireplaces. This is a recreation of the dock house. The original one is long gone. It was built in the 1990s, I believe, and it's been reconstructed. It's used for special events. The barges would come in with the tide. They'd load up here with cotton and rice and indigo, and then they would go out with the tide. This is not the original plantation home. This home was actually built in the 50s. There were two prior iterations of the plantation home, and they were wood, and they went into disrepair or were destroyed, or they're long gone. What they've done is a family purchased the property and built this home. Has an interesting history, and it's privately owned currently, and it has descended to the son and daughter who have no children, and they own it. The daughter lives in California, and the son lives in a house on the other side of the property, and you'll see a picture later of that. And they put it out for tours. And so you come in, they won't let you take pictures inside, but you can tour the first floor, and then the second floor is reserved for family use. I have not seen the movie The Notebook, but they had some photos here of it, and the exteriors were used for that movie. And there's a lake in the back, and there's a dock where they jump into the water, and that's in the far back. I don't know if I'll get to make it back there. Here's where the horses run and are raised, and there's some horses out there. Can't see them, they're far away. The property is, I believe, over 1,000 acres. Now, this line of trees is interesting. It might, if I come over here, it might look kind of familiar. When they were filming Gone with the Wind or doing the historic research, they came down to this property and they liked these rows of oak trees. And so what they did is took some pictures of them, and it was used in Gone with the Wind. They painted the glass mats after these oak trees.
Over the last 300 years, Boone Hall has had many different owners, has operated on a large scale in many different forms, and has had 3 main homes on the site, with the current home being the grandest of all. In contrast, these 9 original slave cabins modestly stand as they were built over 200 years ago with the labor of a people upon which this country was built. Their meek existence parallels the humble beginnings of a people who were brought to this land for the purpose of providing free labor to grow a new economy. The ironic contradiction of America is a country that was founded on the concept of freedom was built on the backs of slaves. The economic and social impact slavery had on America cannot be denied, and during the development and challenges of creating a nation, there have risen heroes and leaders whose actions played and continue to play a significant role in the establishment of equality for all Americans. Some whose names and actions are recorded in history, and some whose personal stand may never be known, yet undeniably contributed to the achievement of racial equality. And now, as you stand in this humble cabin, America has emerged as a land of equality, where heroes and leaders of all races and gender can emerge with the support of a nation. The road has been long and hard, the obstacles overcome immeasurable. But because of unbelievable perseverance and sacrifice, we now stand as a nation closer to the premise written by our forefathers in the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal.